Modes of extinguishment. A pledge is extinguished by any of these modes of extinguishment provided by the Civil Code. So here are some special modes of extinguishment in pledge. First, we have if the thing which is subject to the pledge was returned by the pledgee to the pledgor, or ang butang nga gi-pledge ni debtor to pledgee was returned to pledgor, and the extinguishment of pledge will occur, or when the payment was made successfully by the pledgor to the pledgee, which leads to the extinguishment of a pledge. As well, in case the thing is in the possession of the pledgor, it will also arises the presumption that it was voluntarily delivered by the pledgee to the pledgor and that the pledge is now considered extinguished. And the next mode of extinguishment we have if there is an express of renunciation or abandonment of the pledge by the pledgee, then the pledge will be also extinguished. In this concept of extinguishment, it is only the pledge that will be considered extinguished, and not the principal obligation, because the pledge and the principal obligation has different contract. So in this case of mode of extinguishment, only lang ang pledge ang ma-extinguished and walay labot or dili ma-extinguished ang principal obligation since both of them has different contract. So and the last one is if the thing pledge is sold at the public auction. In case of appropriation of the pledge after failure of the second auction, the pledge is now extinguished. Article 2110 in the Civil Code. If the thing pledge is returned by the pledgee to the pledgor or owner, the pledge is extinguished. Any stipulation to the contrary shall be void. If subsequent to the perfection of the pledge, the thing is in the possession of the pledgor or owner, there is a prima facie presumption that the same has been returned by the pledgee. This same presumption exists if the thing pledge is in the possession of a third person as well, who has received it from the pledgor or owner after the constitution of the pledge. So in this case of pledge extinguishment, it means that the thing pledge is returned by the pledgee to the pledgor or owner. It was either the pledgor made a successful payment of the principal obligation or was able to pay the pledgee the payment he owed that made the pledge extinguished, and any stipulation to the contrary are void. So for example of this mode of extinguishment, if A is indebted to B and A secured by the pledge of a laptop computer. Later, on the due date of his debt, A directly and successfully made his payment to B. Then, A demands the return of the thing pledged to B for his successful payment. By return of the thing to the pledgor, then the status of the pledge is now considered extinguished, and any of their stipulation to their contract will also be void.
The second mode of extinguishment is the extinguishment of pledge by renunciation or abandonment. Article 2111, a statement in writing by the pledgee that he renounces or abandons the pledge is sufficient to extinguish the pledge. For this purpose, neither the acceptance by the pledgor or owner nor the return of the thing pledged is necessary, the pledgee becoming a depositary. So, natay 3 points to remember. Una, the renunciation or abandonment must be in writing to constitute an extinguishment of pledge. Ikaduha, the renunciation is not conditioned upon the acceptance by the pledgor or owner nor upon the return of the thing pledged. So, dili siya necessary nga i-accept pa ni pledgor or dili na i-extinguish na siya or ang pag-return pa sa pledge. Ikatulo, under this article, the thing pledged remains in the possession of the pledgee. Hence, the renunciation must be in writing. So, mag-remain lang kang pledgee ang pledge. So, for example, is sa pawn shop. Let's say si pledgor nagprenda og alahas. Naa sila contract na 3 months. After 3 months, wala na bayaran or nakuha ni pledgor ang pledge. So, ang mahitabo, magpadala og letter si pledgee nga i-renounce para ma-extinguish na ang pledge. Tapos, ang pledge mag-remain siya in the possession sa pawn shop. So, for this instance, og sa previous na extinguishment na na-mention, it is only the pledge that is extinguished. The principal obligation, which is a separate contract, may or may not be extinguished. More likely than not, it will subsist because it is only the pledge which is extinguished. So, ma-apply lang ni siya sa extinguishment of the pledge and not to the principal obligation. Kaya ang rule ani is the accessory follows the principal. So, if the principal is extinguished, the accessory will also be extinguished. But if it is conversed, it is different. If the accessory is extinguished, the principal will still subsist. So, balikon nato. The renunciation or abandonment must be in writing to constitute an extinguishment of pledge. The renunciation is not conditioned upon the acceptance by the pledgor or owner, nor upon the return of the thing pledged. The thing pledged remains in the possession of the pledgee. Hence, the renunciation must be in writing.
Effect of sale of thing pledged. Article 2115. The sale of the thing pledged shall extinguish the principal obligation, whether or not the proceeds of the sale are equal to the amount of the principal obligation, interest, and expenses in a proper case. If the price of the sale is more than said amount, the debtor shall not be entitled to the excess, unless it is otherwise agreed. If the price of the sale is less, neither shall the creditor be entitled to recover the deficiency, notwithstanding any stipulation of the contrary. If the price of the sale is more than the amount of due the creditor, the debtor is not entitled to the excess unless the contrary is provided. If the price of sale is less, neither the creditor entitled to recover the deficiency. The reason is to compel the creditor to hold an honest public sale. Creditor should realize the loans only as much as he is likely to realize at a public sale. The right of debtor to excess. General rule. The debtor is not entitled to excuse unless there is an agreement to the contrary. To compensate the creditor for his risk of not being able to recover the deficiency in case the thing pledged is sold below the amount of the principal obligation.
Article 2118. If a credit which has been pledged becomes due before it is redeemed, the pledge may collect and receive the amount due. He shall apply the same to the payment of his claim, and deliver the surplus, should there be any, to the pledgor. According to the article, when a pledge credit comes due, the pledge has the responsibility to receive the amount due. So that if the pledgor is failed to attempt in pays his credit to the pledge on the promised date, that is the time the pledge has the right to collect and receive the amount due. It means that the pledgor should pay as soon as possible. The agreed value based on the negotiation of the two persons should not be changes or increase in the time of the payment. The other hand, it should be fixed. If there is excess on the payment, it should be back to the pledgor.